All right, it is 10 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. Certify that we do have a quorum present. All 5 members are here. Do we have anybody from the Ministerial Alliance? If not, Ricky, you mind leading us in an opening prayer? Following that, Commissioner Leon Clement, will you lead us in the pledges? Would everybody please rise?
Shall we pray? Our Father, we're thankful today for the privilege that we have to be here and to be a part of this meeting and to do service for the citizens of our county. We pray today, Lord, for wisdom and guidance as we work our way through the issues that come up. We thank you for those who serve today and ask that you would bless them. We pray, Lord, for our country and this election year. We pray that your guidance and your leadership would be sought out among all of our leaders from the top all the way down, and may you give guidance as we vote for the leaders for our future. We thank you for all you do for us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 5 is public comments on agenda items. I think we have a couple of people that had signed up to speak on public comments. The first one is Chad Johnston. You want to speak? You've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're just here today to talk about the upcoming Indian Creek ESD.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Sorry. Speaking on the Indian Creek ESD and then the petition that's going to be put on the agenda in the future. We'd had a meeting recently, a chief's meeting, and there was a lot of departments that were not fully up to speed on what's going on. And as far as where North Shore is concerned, our biggest issues are the boundaries. We don't know where the boundaries are going to be for this ESD. We've seen multiple, projected maps, and we haven't been told anything in concrete. This is exactly what it is we're going for. We've heard different stories, different versions on things, different reasons why it is where it's at, and I guess from our perspective, everything's moving pretty fast, and we're not getting the answers to keep up with the speed of this thing. And I don't think we can articulate everything that we need to articulate in 5 minutes sitting here. So before this gets put on the agenda for the petition, it gets put on the agenda for acceptance, we feel like needs to be some more discussions with the Commissioners Court and get some more answers out of Indian Creek on it. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next one is Bill Tackett. Do you have anything you want?
Thank you, people, for letting me speak to you. Chad pretty well covered everything. The only thing I'm concerned about is if this thing passes, it's not clear whether they can vote and how many votes it takes for other people to be able to encroach in our district, which right now we're a mile from their border and they're 9 miles from their station. And there's been talk of them getting even closer to us than that. That tends to threaten our fire department, and that's the only main thing that concerns me.
Thank you, sir. And we'll get into more discussion on that when that agenda item comes up. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items on the consent they want to pull?
Yeah, let's pull R as in Robert and T as in Tom.
R and T.
R and T. I make a motion we approve the consent agenda excluding R and T.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement to approve the consent excluding items R and T.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner John Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item R is deliberate and consider possible approval of minutes from Lake Ray Roberts Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah, I'm confused. Darrell Coxey made a motion, but it says he wasn't present.
Well, also, it says Craig Vickers made a motion, he wasn't present.
That's not the way this reads. The meeting was called to order at 7:02 by James Moss. Approved the minutes. Public hearing was opened. Approved the minutes, seconded by Rosina. Public hearing was open at 7:05. This goes chronologically. It doesn't say, it says Craig Vickers made a motion, no, Darrell Coxey made a motion, and this says he wasn't present, and Vickers made a motion too, seconded.
He wasn't present at the one that signed the agenda request.
Oh, okay.
The agenda was, it's like our meetings. The agendas are signed by the board at the following meeting. However, what they're signing was from the meeting prior. They had a meeting in October, and those members weren't present. But at the meeting in September, those members were present.
Yeah, it sure is confusing, because when you read this, they're listed, they went through all this meeting, and then
And then
down
at
here
the
it says
bottom.
not present.
Yeah, we need to add a thing that says, here are the members that are present.
Because it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
It looks like they wasn't there. Okay. If you say so. But I would get them to change that.
Yeah, we need to correct that going forward, so it's not confusing on who all was,
Yeah,
it needs to list what members were present.
Yeah, it's, if we did that, you would ever know who was there and who wasn't.
Yeah, ours has the
Yeah,
who was present, who wasn't, the role basically at the first part. We can add that too there.
okay, well, that needs to happen. All right. So moved to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement,
Second.
second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item T is deliberate and consider possible approval on EMS Medical Director Agreement with Dr. Lewis.
And this is what, the new money we approved was, or is this?
No, this is the routine agreement. This is for the EMS part. So he's got two roles.
Yeah. So this is strictly for the EMS,
this
has
is-
nothing to do with the,
The emergency,
With the COVID.
with the COVID stuff, this has nothing to do with that. This is strictly his EMS oversight.
Is that the same as last year, Judge?
Yeah, it shouldn't have been any change.
okay. All right, that's all I wanted to make sure of. So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 7 is deliberate, consider possible approval of Treasurer's monthly report.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jason Snuggs,
Second.
second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 8 is deliberate and consider possible action on Treasurer's quarterly report.
So moved again.
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs. I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Patty. Item number 9 is deliberate consider setting a date and time for a public hearing to consider a petition for allowing election to create Cooke County Emergency Services District Number 1. Just a little bit of housekeeping on that. We did receive the petition earlier this, I believe earlier this month. We did send that over for verification of the signatures. In order for a petition to be considered, you have to verify the signatures of at least 100 individuals that are voters in that district was included with that petition. We sent that to the tax assessor collector. She did verify, I think it was over 140 at least, and that they are registered voters and property owners in that district. Our role in this today is to set the date of a public hearing to consider the creation of the district. We're not considering that creation today. That public hearing has to at least have 21 days' notice in the newspaper for 2 weeks and posted here at the courthouse. So you're looking from a practical standpoint at the earliest is 30 days or so, which puts it right in Thanksgiving. So I'm thinking the earliest would be early December timeframe. But there's still a lot of, I know we've got some questions here by North Shore. I'm sure members of the court have questions because this is the first time we've dealt with the creation or potential creation for it. So in context, what happens is if we, after the hearing, if we say, hey, this is potentially benefits the county, then that area would hold an election at a later date, which it can hold it. I think the earliest would be, the next regular general election would be May. And the members of that proposed district would vote at that time whether to create the district or not. And then there's some housekeeping that has to happen in that. There's also, I know, a lot of concern by members in that district or people that potentially are in that district and surrounding volunteer fire departments regarding boundaries and stuff. And that's what we need to start addressing over the next several weeks or so. I know we have members from, we have, Ms. Switzer is here if she wants to, if you have any briefing or summary or anything on that you'd like to present to the court as well on behalf of Indian Creek.
Your Honor, at this time I don't, but if I'm here available for any questions that they may have. I've also got board members here that can address any of those questions as well. But we do have a full presentation that we'll be doing when you set the public hearing.
It's a bad time to talk about the fear of annexing.
I think that's fine to talk about. Just notice, I mean, the main purpose of it being on the court today is to set the public hearing, but we also want to address the concerns and questions and that are out there.
Ms. Switzer, would you mind stepping up here? I was reached out to by North Shore to meet with them last week about the concerns that they have. And like Chief Tackett just mentioned, one of their concerns is they feel like if the ESD goes in, that they could be annexed at a later time, and that was one of the things he touched on. Is there anything you can talk about to that? I know that that's not an intention, but I know it's, I understand why it's a fear.
What the process is, I don't know that
Right.
that's completely
Yeah.
clear.
What would happen is, once the ESD is established, if they intend to annex somebody, they have to give notice to them, and then there has to be a vote on that as well.
My understanding is it's basically the same procedure that has to go through for the creation in the first place. So you're going to have
Correct.
that vote that's going to have to be
Within
on the
that.
ballot, the same as what the creation is.
Correct.
The ESD can't just decide, hey, we want to overtake this department and suck them into the boundaries. That's
No,
been the fear.
No,
It's the same
sir.
thing with cities now. Cities can't annex land like they did in the past. They have to have the landowner's permission, so I think it works the same way. Excuse me.
Correct.
Will people outside the area subject to be annexed be able to participate in that vote?
No. Outside the area to be annexed? No. It's only those that are in that annex area, that proposed annex area.
So to answer your, I think, just make sure there's no confusion. So Commissioner Holloway, you're talking about on the initial vote or the potential annexation vote?
No, to be specific, somebody outside the district, maybe they take in 2 or 3 square miles. If you confine the vote to those people, that's one thing, but if you let the original members, i.e. a community the size of Lake Kiowa weigh in, then they're immediately going to take them over.
Yeah, I think it's just, so if you've got Block A that voted to form ESD number 1, and then you've got 5 miles that's going to be annexed in, or 2 miles, or whatever it is, it has another 100 voters. My understanding is those 100 voters that get, or that number of voters in that potential annex, not the entire district again. So,
Correct.
because you're absolutely correct, if you had a district that you wouldn't be giving them fair say on the annexation, you could considerably just creep block by block for however long in the future you wanted to. But it's just those that are potentially annexed that would be able to vote in that expansion.
So you're staying inside your existing boundary lines as they're set now, is that right?
As we attached it to the petition, and that's our boundary lines that we're looking
But is
to
that the
establish.
Indian Creek Fire District boundary lines, or are you taking in somebody else's?
I think that's one of the issues and questions that I know I've been asked, and I think Commissioner Snuggs has. It's different than the existing boundary is what they're requesting. And I think this might be a good time to have a broader conversation on boundary lines of our volunteer fire departments anyway.
That was the next question. How do we set the fire district boundary line?
So the current volunteer fire department lines are, and Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, are set by Commissioners Court. And I think the last time there was any change, I know there was a change when North Shore came in. There might have been a change when Oak Ridge left. I think was the last time there was actually any change.
There was a change then.
Because the Callisburg and Indian Creek took up most of that, or most of, if not all of that. But if we're opening this conversation now, we need to have that broader conversation as well.
Somebody needs to be taking some input from all the volunteer fire departments.
Yeah. Which is, the next question is, how do we do that constructively? Do we set up a series of workshops? Do we task a couple of commissioners with going out and meeting with them, or myself and a commissioner to go out and meet with them? How do we do that to address the broader question there?
Well, let's go back to the original question that I had. So whose fire district are you all, whoever's doing this, pulling into Indian Creek?
Commissioner Clement, the only one at this point is, we've taken a portion, a small portion of the Gainesville ETJ.
ETJ.
And
But
we've-
not any other no other fire department's district boundaries.
Oh, Callisburg.
You're taking part of Callisburg?
Piece of Callisburg too that's been looked at, okay? During, when we got the meeting with Ray and so forth, went over all of that, okay? And those maps that we
Yeah.
gave you the last time shows that boundary.
Well, I understand the map shows the boundary, but I don't have a map with the boundary of the existing lines, and I can look at all that, and I know where it is, but I don't know who's crossing whose boundary. It did not show the old boundary versus the new boundary. And that gets into, if we set the boundaries, why have we already gotten to this point?
Well, this is a group of citizens coming together to ask that this be created. So this is the first time it's coming before us. So any group of citizens, you could have 100 of them countywide that want to create this.
I agree, but
Yeah, but I mean, they've had some conversation with Ray, and I agree that's the point of contact. But if we're responsible for approving boundary changes, and they're already drawn into this petition,
yeah, we've already jumped the gun.
No, I'm telling you we haven't, because this is being presented to us. Now, Ray is not tasked with going and changing these boundaries or setting it as. This is exactly what this process is for us to say, okay, hey, we don't agree with the boundary change, we will accept an ESD within the existing boundary, or, hey, let's take a broader conversation and address the entire issue of boundaries of volunteer fire departments.
I tend to come from the side that if you want to change a boundary, you meet with everybody concerned and you discuss how you're going to change the boundary. You don't do all the legal work, all the signatures, and bring it to the board because you know you're going to be able to force the issue. That's what that is. That is, we already did the work. These people
If I may,
just let me finish. That's my opinion, the way I see that. You're already bringing it to us, and we've already got this much done, now we want you to approve it. I would much rather everybody hammer those things out before they get it here.
So I have stayed really far away from this because although I'm on leave of absence now for 2 years with Indian Creek, I'm a member of Indian Creek, so I've stayed away from this. I know there's been talk with Callisburg, Valley View, and North Shore, and there have been boundary squabbles. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's not that Indian Creek's trying to grow the size, it's trying to get the property lines to make the taxing to make sense. It's not about increasing the boundaries. Some of the boundaries have shrunk, some have expanded, but they want to get it on the, CCAD wants to see a line drawn for the taxation, is why it's been done the way it has been done. So, and it was to, and so Judge Brinkley said it's an initial step, and then it's up to us to tweak the boundary lines from here as we see needs to happen. And what it's done is open a whole can of worms where every department across the whole county wants to readjust the boundary lines and make sure they all make
Which
sense.
brings me to my main point, we could stop all the misinformation if everybody got together and hammered out their boundary lines before all of a sudden someone sees it's coming to a commissioners court meeting. And I understand this is preliminary, but it's already got the maps, it's already got the signatures, and hey, guys, let's run with this. And that's the way I see it. Those kind of things I like seeing. Sounds like we don't have a real good communication thing going on.
If I may, Commissioner Clement, we have done our due diligence. We've met with the surrounding fire departments and discussed those boundary issues. Now, whether or not everybody's going to be 100% in compliance, maybe, maybe not, agreement, but that's why the Commissioners Court is here, to make those determinations. Our petition has complied with the legal aspects of it, and so, but we want to definitely put on more information for the commissioners so that they can have as much information as they need in order to make this decision. But in fairness, we have had some conversations with the surrounding fire departments.
Were they happy?
Some were. Some started out happy, some became unhappy later. Some have become unhappy and then happy later. So it's a constant communication thing.
Am I correct in my assumption that we really can't do anything other than approve the petition?
No, we can make changes and request changes and things to before we approve it. Yeah.
Because at this point in time, if we approve the petition to go, well, is it at this point or is it after the open discussion after the meeting?
The only criteria at this point is that it is a legal petition, which it is a legal petition that's being asked for.
But
We're not
right now,
approving,
it's a petition asking for boundaries that don't exist.
but it is a legal petition. So it has the requisite number of signatures and meets all the statutory requirements. So that's when we set it for a hearing and then address all the other aspects such as boundary lines, such as mutual aid, things like that that still need to be addressed, are addressed during this phase. And and that's what the public hearing is for. That's what those conversations that need to start happening now are for. And before we actually have final approval of this petition or a modified version of it, which we can say, no, we want it to stay within the exact lines. We
But
can
I
say
feel
that.
as if I vote on something that already has a map and I say, sure, go forward with it, now I've approved it. And don't tell me that, because I can't say I've approved the map because I see head shaking no back there and I don't know exactly what's going on because I'm not a fireman.
Well,
And I would much rather have this boundary issue laid to rest. If we have the time, I think, if you want to get a few commissioners or a couple of commissioners involved with the firemen, there needs to be a frank discussion about the boundary lines, number one.
I completely agree with.
Then we'll go back to
But-
all of this.
But what I'm telling you is statutorily, it meets the requirements and we have to set a hearing.
That's what I'm saying. We have to go
Period.
set.
There
the
is
hearing.
no, now we can, during that time, and at the hearing, we can say, hey, we still need to address X, Y, and Z. But it has to be set for a hearing.
Should have been done. That map should have been hammered out before it got here.
But
You
we-
have private citizens asking for this. How are you going to do that? Commissioner, I'm asking you, how would you do
I
that?
would think you'd get the firemen together and you would hammer it out.
So we have private citizens that get over 100 signatures and come to us with a petition.
Telling me where to set the boundary line. and-
No, they are making a request.
it's
They
a-
are making a request, Commissioner.
It's a proposal at this point.
It's a proposal,
It's a
but I still
proposal.
say you're putting the cart before the horse.
And I'm saying they're following exactly what the statute spells out.
So we could have the public hearing, all right, we approve the petition, we could have the public hearing. In that public hearing, can we deny it being placed on the ballot?
Yeah, there's
The court
criteria for that, yes.
Can deny it being placed on the ballot?
Yes.
Has anyone on the court been in discussions with these folks on this as we moved along?
I had a couple of initial discussions saying, hey, we're looking to do this.
I was definitely approached about it, but like I said, I needed to stay out of it.
And they,
Conflict of interest and
And-
following
and-
statutory, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
They were getting all their ducks in a row to bring us what we have to have.
And Ms. Switzer came to Commissioners Court and with a presentation, I believe they came with a presentation a couple of months ago and said, hey, we're looking to do this.
They're looking to do it, but I thought we were going to stay within current boundary lines.
And they presented a petition that does not.
Exactly.
So-
So to keep from having conflict, I just wish it would be done in a smoother fashion, of what I would consider the right way. You can tell me they presented you with that's fine. I don't think any attempt was made to hammer this out before it got here, and that's what bothers me.
Well, with all due respect, Commissioner Clement, there were a lot of meetings that were held in an effort to come up with an agreed boundary line. Now, we may not be able to make everybody happy, and I understand that, but that's just the way of the world. But in fairness, we have done that. This isn't all of a sudden sneak in the back door, try to get this thing pushed through thing. That's not what it's been. And I think if you ask these gentlemen from North Shore, they will admit that there has been conversations between Indian Creek and North Shore and the other volunteer fire departments.
Have you guys been discussing this?
There's more than just North Shore of the county that affects the entire county.
Can you can he get up? You need to get up at the microphone, please.
My name's Mitch Creed, I'm Chief of Munster. I'm here because this affects more than just North Shore, it affects the whole county. You have businesses inside that district that live in Munster and based out of there, and they're gonna get taxed there. You've got word of mouth, so the people in this district are the only people that really know what's going on once the vote goes through, and then they start telling the rest of the county they're paying taxes for a fire service. Then all the other businesses all the rest of the fire departments have members who just heard they're getting taxed, and they don't go do any homework, and then they don't donate that year. There's a lot of discussion to go on. We have had no meetings other than a couple of weeks ago, we had a chiefs meeting, and when the gentleman that came to present that for Indian Creek didn't even know what was going on mostly, he kept saying the board's the one that knows everything. If you're going to do this, I'm not against telling anybody how to make money for their own department. I am against not informing the other departments what's going on, how it's going to be. Munster's had zero knowledge of this. Myra's not here. I guarantee if all the people knew really what was going on, their chiefs would be here. And I'm not for or against them taxing their own citizens. That's their deal. If their people inside there want to do it, that's fine. But like you said, you've got boundary lines that are 1.5 miles from their station. There's people that aren't happy with their boundaries as it is before we're taxing. So I think that we should have had a meeting discussing our boundary lines if we're going to start taxing. I know Valley View's worried about this going to the next step, then not having the information out to everybody in the public, then it passes or fails, and then it affects them because they're looking at doing this in the future because they're so busy on the I-35. So to me, we missed like 48 steps before we got here, and I understand they brought the signatures and did that, and I'm not arguing the validity of that. To me, if we're going to do this, it needs to be done correctly the first time because it has mass consequences for everybody, the ones who want to do it in the future and the ones that don't and still have to fundraise. So for them to say that we talked to everybody is absolutely not true because there's a whole bunch of departments in here. Then once it gets passed, it changes the way the county does fire departments forever. Because the next one that's looking at needing some money, they're going to go, well, that works for them, we need to do that. And then it affects the other departments too. So I think that we've missed so many steps. And I understand this is just to have the hearing, but if we're going to do this, everybody needs to know what's going on 100%, in my opinion.
As far as the public meeting, Judge, is the Commissioners Court hosting that meeting?
Yes. Yes, it is just like another public hearing in front of Commissioners Court. I do want to point out that in Health and Safety Code 775. It says the Commissioners Court has exclusive jurisdiction on each issue relating to the creation of the district, including any matters negotiated with consenting municipalities, or may issue incidental orders that it considers proper in the creation to the issues before Commissioners Court, and the court may adjourn the hearing as necessary, which means we can have multiple public hearings on that. What I'm saying is I completely agree with all your concerns, but the time to have those discussions in a matter that matters, and not just a group of individuals wanting to create this, is now. This starts the clock to where we start addressing some of those from a standpoint of the authority addressing them. And I completely agree with Commissioner Leon Clement's concerns as well. I think we all have the same concerns. It's that I'm saying is we are actually following the proper timeline laid out in the statute, and others are wanting that already to have been determined before we got in here. This ensures transparency in front of the public, because we'll be having public hearings on this, and we'll probably have more than one. But this starts that clock.
And it has always been our intent to have town hall meetings, public meetings with people, with concerned citizens, especially those people that are within that proposed district, because they're the ones that will be taxed. Anybody outside the district will not be taxed by the ESD. It's only those within that district that would be taxed. So if Munster's not in the district, it's not within the boundaries, which they're not, their citizens will not be taxed on it.
I understand all that, and I understand legally this fulfills all the letters of the law, but on a practical standpoint, should have it been done? What would have been wrong with having those boundaries discussed and hammered out before they got here?
And I think there was attempts to do that, and I don't think that there was agreement between some of I know that Indian Creek had met with the surrounding areas, and they agreed on some and disagreed on others, which is, since that wasn't met, they had the right and fulfilled their right of presenting a petition to us, and now's where we step into that role.
Well, we really need the fire departments to determine those districts, not
Yeah,
us,
and that's
because
what-
they're the ones that's going to respond to them, and we don't need to.
And that's why I think this is a good time to address not just this situation, but to address those districts as a whole, or whether it's an ESD or whether it's just a volunteer fire department districts, to have everybody come to the table and start having, because the last time we addressed countywide what our fire districts look like is, Ray, do you have any idea? It's been, Mitch, do you? It hasn't been done. And this creates the opportunity, whether everybody agrees with it or doesn't agree with it, to relook at that and hopefully find a lot of consensus, because I think we can on a lot of it. Maybe not on all, but on a lot of it, I think we can. And we use this as that opportunity to do that, and then we also make the determination whether we allow the vote to go forward on the ESD.
Judge Brinkley had mentioned this too, and I'm in full agreement. Hopefully you guys will too. We do a special hearing. I think it needs to be on a special court date, not on normal court business date, so we can just focus on.
It almost becomes a workshop/hearing to work through a lot of the concerns and issues regarding this, because, Mitch, I agree with you that even though it does have impact to the entire county, and that's why we need to have probably a couple of public hearings or however to work through those issues and maybe even solve some others while we're at it.
You may need a larger venue.
We probably will.
And some of the boundary issues that have been brought to me by Kausberg were that, well, what if we do an ESD in the future? What if we do an ESD? And that's what Mitch touched on, this might change the way fire departments are done from now on, so we need to make sure that we take the proper steps to plan ahead for that. And I think that it's going that way. It might not be in mine and yours lifetime, but every department in Texas will be an ESD before it's all said and done. So we need to make sure that if this is the initial one, that it's done correctly. And I think that the board, the special ESD board that the Indian Creek Fire District has put together to do this has really, really done all the due diligence and the homework to make sure that the ESD is set up properly, and the boundaries are, they're a bone of contention. Nobody wants to give up space or take space or anything, so it's just part of the natural can of worms that's going to go with this process.
So again, we don't have any alternative but to go forward with the petition because they've met the criteria. Then, at the public hearing, we'll be able to talk about things like boundaries, tax
Mutual
rates
aid.
of 10 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, all the,
And things of that nature to be sure that the public understands this will be a political subdivision with the ability to tax up to 10 cents on the 100. So if you live in a $300,000 house, it's going to cost you $300 a year, just trivial
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. That's the issue I have with it.
and we can have multiple public hearings if necessary to work through those potential issues.
I'm concerned that I heard a couple of firemen get up and say they really didn't know this was all going on like it was going on, and that really troubles me because, well, I see a lady shaking her head the other way. I know Munster's not in this. Mitch is right. When you affect one fire department, you're going to affect them all. And I remember it's been 20-plus years that they set the lines, and I remember the battles they had when they had that. I wasn't a commissioner then, but I got moved from one side to another. A lot of people did. Where's the line going to be? If you're on this side of the road, you're here. And the firemen were very concerned about the boundaries. And that's what's got me concerned is I see the head shaking no. And Ray says you had meetings, but did you have countywide meetings with everybody? And does everybody, to say that it doesn't affect the rest of them, that's not really true because you're starting a whole new process here. And if you're telling me if I vote no, it's not going to matter anyway because we have to do this because they're presenting us with a proper petition, I guess if it's legal, it's legal, but I think it doesn't get you off to a good foot as far as looking. And by that, I mean, it'd be nice if everybody come in here and said, this is great, let's do it. And I haven't seen that.
The last 16 years, I've been moved from fire districts 3 different times and have yet to ever been in a discussion.
And we approve them.
And we approve them.
I've never been moved.
I was in Callisburg, then I was in Oak Ridge, and now I'm in Indian Creek. And
So
that's the
we-
last 16 years. And they hadn't,
But this was before us.
Oh, these
sometime
people
last
said
year,
this
yeah.
is coming.
Yeah,
I don't-
we've known it's coming.
I don't disagree with any of that.
And we certainly welcome, communication with the rest of the community. Any concerns that they have, we look forward to addressing those, as well as the Commissioners Court. Any of your concerns, that's what we're here for, because we'd like to see it go smoothly as well. I mean, we don't want to create a whole lot of problems, but by the same token, this is something that Indian Creek Volunteer Fire Department really needs in order to survive.
And it was, I thought everything was going smoother than it was up until about 15 days ago when my phone started ringing and there was boundary disputes. And that's when Chad from North Shore set the meeting up and I was glad and, so.
But Lynn, you say that's what you need in order for them to survive. I guess right now they're running on about $116,000 a year budget. I think that's what we heard in that last meeting, and proposing to transition from $116,000 to $600,000, in the first year. That to me is, goes far beyond just surviving.
Well, that's why.
That looks like significant improvements in equipment and infrastructure and paid fire department.
And I appreciate your concerns, Commissioner Caldwell, and that's why, had I known, I would have brought the rest of my presentation and we could have addressed some of those issues. But I think once you see our presentation and see the figures that we're going to be bringing to you, you can understand why I say that this is something that we're going to need in order to survive.
Yeah. From the personal standpoint, being in that district, what I want to see is how much are you going to improve? What am I paying for? What service am I actually going to get other than a nice new facility and new equipment? What actually is, how am I going to benefit?
One of the things that we're looking at is to hire some full-time fire departments, because right now, we've only got 19 volunteers, and of those 19, 4 of them make the majority of the calls. And they just can't keep doing that. And so one of the things that we want to look at, and we'll have the statistics for you, is to hire some full-time firefighters to work Monday through Friday. The majority of our calls come in on Wednesdays, and I believe Saturdays, Wednesdays and Saturdays, or Mondays. Anyway, I've got the statistics there for you, but
It'll be about improved services, I would think.
Correct.
And
Right.
then Like I said, that just seems like a huge increase in budget to me. Move to approve.
Well, we need to set a date.
Yeah, set the date.
Timeline-wise, it's got to be noticed at least 21 days before, so practically, you're talking about a notice going out sometime late this week or early next week. We got to figure that out. But my thought process is, and this is, I think, 4 or 5 weeks out, but the 7th of December, which is,
Pearl Harbor Day.
well, yeah, it is, but that's a Monday. That's not a Commissioners Court regular schedule. It's enough time to, after the holidays, so you're not worrying about Thanksgiving. And it meets all the timeline requirements. And then if, we can always set another one after that if we need to have follow-up hearings. And then we can have it here, or we can have it in another location if we think there may be more people that need to attend than what we can accommodate at the moment. Does that work for you guys timeline-wise?
Oh, absolutely, Judge, and if the court, we'll make ourselves available if the court wants to have some working sessions before that date. We'll certainly make ourselves available for that as well.
And that,
Does that give the fire departments time to have a meeting? Does that give the chiefs the time to have a meeting?
What?
Chiefs meeting to,
Somebody make a comment? Ray make a comment?
Right.
I'd be happy to facilitate at any time.
Do you chiefs think you could get a meeting together and hammer this all over?
I don't know if it can be hammered out. I mean, I can say that the boundary discussion has been a one-way discussion with Indian Creek. I know that we sat up here and said that we've only taken in some of Gainesville's, some of Kalispers. The last map we saw took in part of North Shore, part of Valley View, Gainesville, I guess, and Kalispers. And we haven't had communication with Indian Creek about these boundaries since spring. We had 3 meetings, and then communications were cut off. Emails aren't returned. So there's a lot more that's going on to this that's got a lot of the departments, especially that are bordering Indian Creek, upset about it.
So does this map, but you said this map just takes in part of Kalispers. It doesn't take in part of Indian Creek?
I'm going to let Bob address that because he's the one that's been working on the actual boundaries.
I said, so this map that we have here, she had said it takes in a little bit of the ETJ of Gainesville and part of Kalispers. It doesn't take in any of Indian Creek or any other department, it's just Indian Creek, I'm sorry, North Shore. It just is Indian Creek, a little bit of Kalispers, and that's it?
North Shore, I don't understand why they don't seem to get this map, okay, but actually, we gave up territory to North Shore, okay, because of the previous discussions, right? As far as Kalispers, yes, the boundary does go up a little higher than what the blue area is on the current map, okay? And like Lynn said, the ETJ, we've already had the discussion with the city council.
Well, I got a question of the city of Gainesville side, so if I'm a resident of city of Gainesville, I'm gonna be paying tax twice then. If y'all are gonna come into the city of Gainesville and then paying city taxes as well.
We're not going into the city of Gainesville. We're just taking in a portion of their extraterritorial jurisdiction. It's not within the boundary lines of the city of Gainesville.
It's not going to pick up enough population out of Gainesville to impact the vote.
Yeah, he's getting into the ETJ? Just a piece of it, I think.
all right, so we do,
I'll go back and make the motion, we hold the public hearing December 7th.
on December 7th, I'll second that motion. I suggest that we have a chiefs meeting, and I suggest you guys maybe attend that. I know it's not necessarily a complete overlap of the people requesting this and Indian Creek, but I suggest they have at least a preliminary meeting that everybody knows what map they're talking about between now and then, and we'll likely have at least one, if not two, public hearings on it, if not even more than that.
Of course, having said that, they don't have to have an agreement between.
No, they don't, but
We should have an agreement between the fire departments.
Yes.
Before we sign them.
correct. Further discussion?
Yeah. So I'll go back to my original statement. I don't like it when things like this show up in here, and it's a petition we brought to you, and legally, we followed the letter of the law, and here's where we want the line to be. And I hear other people saying, well, we don't really know where the line is, and I feel like if I vote for this, you can tell me it's legal, it's proper, it's perfect. But the first argument is, we're going to try to change the lines on the map that was brought to me. And it's like I'm giving somebody a heads up, or a leg up, a head start before I've got all the information. And I just can't support anything like that. I can't. I don't like it when things are done that way. I don't like it when just vote for this and then we'll hammer out the issues down the road. We'll have a meeting and then and I know what'll be said. Well, the commissioners already approved this once. We had a vote and they approved it.
It's my understanding, though, we do this petition, that does not get it on the ballot.
I understand that, but I'll be giving it my tacit approval if I do it. That's all I got
I'm not
to say.
disagreeing with you at all, Leon.
No, I understand all that.
I mean, I'm following, I think.
When you take a vote in here, it means something. You'll get it thrown back in your face down the road. Anyway, that's all I got.
But confirming, Judge?
That all we're doing is approving setting a public hearing for the petition. This vote today does nothing other than set the date and time of the public hearing. And we are not approving the petition. We are simply saying we're going to discuss it further at this particular date, which is December 7th. We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion passes 4-1. Thank you, Lynn. Item number 10 is an open public hearing regarding replats of lots 76 and 77 in Lake Kiowa. It is 10:47. That public hearing is open. Do we have anybody that wishes to speak to this replat that signed up? Nobody signed up? Is anybody that did not get a chance to sign up that wishes to speak? Hearing none, that it's 10:47. That public hearing is closed, which is item 11. Item 12 is deliberate and consider possible approval of a replat for lots 76 and 77 in Lake Kiowa subdivision. Commissioner Snug, do you have anything on this?
Nope, I actually met with Charlie Foster last week, and everything's been signed off on their end, so whenever the POA approves it, I'm good with it, so
And I
I'll make
think
the
they're-
motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs. Second by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 13 is deliberate and consider possible approval of development plan for Lake Point RV Resort on FM 922 in Valley View. I think we have our developers back. I know they've met with Todd and have worked through the discussions regarding, I think it was mainly gray water, which was the discussion point. You gentlemen want to give us a briefing on this again?
Yes, sir.
Todd signed
We've
off on it, it was
updated
good,
plat here.
and he was real pleased with a lot of it. Is Todd
I
around?
just hate to go back through it all again.
Kind of brief overview of the.
Yeah, just give us a refresher.
Perfect. We're here thank you for having us today. We're here for the proposed Lake Point RV Resort. The location is 3 miles to the east of 35E on the south side of the road. The land joins core property, which backs up to Lake Ray Roberts. The proposed development will have 120 RV sites with a community center, playground, gazebos, and walking trails. Total site is 34 acres that adjoins about 50 acres of core land that leads to the lake. This park would bring recreation to the north side of the lake and allow the land to be utilized with minimal impact. The plan is to accommodate travelers and workers seeking an upscale, clean, quiet resort that takes full advantage of the surrounding area. Strict rules will be in place to ensure that Lake Point RV Resort remains an asset to both the county and all parties involved. Our site will utilize a water well to provide water for each site. There are engineer drawings in the packet that we had given you all last time. Pentex Energy will provide power to the resort. The plan is to provide 4 transformers for the usage in the park and a looped feed. We have updated plats for y'all to look through if you wanted to see the gray water. They're smaller size. And some of the rules and regulations that will impact others that we have set forth is each camper staying at the park will be allowed 2 vehicles, no trailers allowed. Speed limit in the park will be a max of 5 miles per hour at all times. Quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Trash around campsites not tolerated. If police respond to the park for anything other than a medical emergency, the guests will be told to leave. We will be pet-friendly with no tolerance of aggressive pets. The community center will be a place for people to gather. It will also include showers and a washer and dryer area. The style of the community center will match the feel of the community. The intrinsic grade of the land is very fitting for an RV resort. The natural fall of the land allows for proper sloping in each direction, and the survey we had completed proposes no change to existing drainage patterns, nor any additional concentration of flow. They also concluded that the development will cause no adverse impact to Cooke County, and that is attached in that packet as well.
And they did it didn't make it into this packet, but in the packet they presented last court, they did have the drainage survey on there, the
Yes,
drainage
sir.
study. So we did have that completed as
And I
well.
have that here if anybody would like to see it.
I remember reading that. What was it? You're going to have to bulldoze out some of the trees for the water?
Yes, sir. The 2.36 acre area where the heads will be, they have to be 20 foot away from a tree. So it's not necessarily going to be cleared, the whole thing. We're just going to work it out to where it works. That area it doesn't have much low vegetation. It's just got trees and it's down real low.
Any questions for these gentlemen?
Have you talked to Tom?
Yeah, I've talked to Todd, he's good.
He briefly told me that he liked it, but I hadn't heard the final say on it.
Yeah, the question last court was more on the gray water, and I don't think he had seen that part. He had seen the other part, and he said he has reviewed it, and he is good.
Normally, we use the word preliminary on a subdivision, but since this isn't a subdivision, it's a development plan, do we still need to follow up and use our engineers on this, like we have been?
We do not, we hadn't had the engineers review they sent their engineers with the drainage study on it, but we didn't send it to anybody on our end, I don't believe.
I mean, we can still, if we approve this today, does that keep us from being able to do that, or?
I couldn't hear you. If we do.
I'm saying if we approve this today, does it keep us from being able to hire our own engineers like we've been doing on the subdivisions, or do we need to do that on this?
I believe on these we require a study, but I don't know that we've sent them off to our engineers.
Okay.
That's in the subdivision regs,
It's
but
a
it's not
subdivision
in
regs. I
our.
didn't think-
I know we
And a
had,
second opinion on the one going in behind the general dollar.
You got a second opinion for yourself prior to this?
Court, I got it for the court prior to the final approval, just because the
Is this
terrain.
but this isn't a final approval, this
this is a final,
is a final approval.
I
I
was-
guess, because I wasn't,
I was concerned about terrain. I mean, because, I mean, you know where that would set.
That
It's
one's-
on
yeah.
the highway. If this is going toward the lake, that's be up to.
I mean, ours require the drainage study, but we don't have that same double.
I mean, I'm familiar with that part of land, I know it's all running,
Yeah,
like you said, it's running multiple different directions, and
it's well drained, I don't think it's.
really the only thing this piece of property is good for.
And this is the second one we had that was wanting to put one up.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you want to do, Commissioner?
Yeah, I move to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs. Second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all very much.
Item number 14 is open a public hearing regarding reduction of speed limits on County Road, or speed limit on County Road 310 to 35 miles an hour.
That sign-in sheet, I think, says 210, but does that sign-in sheet say 210 or 310, Kathy? So we're doing.
So we'll confirm that. It is 10:54. Do we have anybody that signed up on that? Okay, if you want to speak on it, just tell us who you are, and mic is yours.
My name's Bert Walterscheid. I own a piece of property on County Road 310, which is, our family had donated the 4 acres for the ag barn. And I had talked to Mr. Clement here a while back, that we've got a lot of people just driving like crazy down that road. And since that ag barn's been there, we've had 2 pretty bad car wrecks. One, a young girl going to the ag barn, coming back, she hit a mailbox that was a piece of 4.5-inch drill stem, totaled her car completely out because she was going too fast. And the roads do get, after rain, they do get chuggy, you know, but John and them usually get out there right away and try to keep them best they can. And the other one was a young man went out early one morning to feed his animal and was just hauling rear end down the road and just run right through the highway and landed up on top of a brace post, and there went another vehicle. So I just hope we can get it lowered, and maybe in the future see if we can get, I don't know, I'd like to get the road paved at least to the school ag barn, if that's any way possible. So, but I know y'all work with us and appreciate your job you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name's Clay Harrison, and I live right next door to the ag building there. And my concern is, there are several elderly ladies that walk up and down that road, walking their dogs. I have 5 grandkids that's there every now and then, and people just, they're running 75 mile an hour down that road. I put signs up on the telephone pole and on Bert's sign there where it says dead end there, that slow down, there's kids playing. But, there's a whole lot of people that walk that road. And the kids come up feeding their animals early in the morning or in a rush, same thing in the afternoon. And we even have people I know that think that road goes all the way to Myra, and it doesn't. So they're going slow going by, but on the way back, they're 100 miles an hour. And I'd just like to see some signs put up, and maybe, see a sheriff's deputy out there every now and then, just up and down the road a little bit.
Thanks, sir.
You bet.
Anybody else that wishes to speak that did not get a chance to sign up? If not, it is 10:57, and that public hearing is closed. Item 16 is deliberate and consider possible reduction of speed limit on County Road 310 to 35 miles an hour. Commissioner John Clement.
First of all, I want to say thank you to both of y'all for coming forward and discussing this problem. I believe we all get hit up about speed limits. It's usually, first off, it's usually pave a road, and the next minute, then they're paved road, then it's, can you slow them down? I've put up some 35 mile an hour speed limits. One road that is paved, even with the speed limit signs up, people pass me on this road doing 70 mile an hour. I'll be more than happy to put the signs up. I don't guarantee it's going to slow anybody down. And if you can get law enforcement to do anything, at least the signage is there. So I make a motion that we approve this.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Commissioner John Clement, seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further conversation?
Just to tell the court what I've got going on. Same thing, I get the same calls every day, and I'm like, I can put the signs up, but they're stealing them very fast, and then if we don't have the patrol out, they're not gonna be caught. But I have thought, since our roads bounce around, I've got some that are 35, some that are 45, some that aren't posted. I'm thinking about doing a blanket in my precinct and making them all one speed. I haven't got there yet, so I've been doing a Facebook survey to kind of see what people think about it. I don't want to be called the speed limit Nazi, but
The problem with the speed limit is there's not enough deputies and not enough law enforcement to be out there enforcing.
at least it's a little bit of a deterrent,
It's a little
maybe.
bit.
And if the deputies do actually get on the road when they are, I don't mean, that sounded bad, but if the deputies actually happen to be on a road when somebody is driving 70, at least they have the speed limit sign so that
Yeah.
they can enforce the ticket. If we don't have a speed limit sign, they can go 60. So you know, it's a big problem, especially with the way the traffic's just increasing, at least in, you know, all of our areas are increasing.
Yeah.
They don't steal my signs, they pull them up and throw them in the ditch.
Yeah, I can put up a speed limit sign, and in 24 hours, it's gone.
It's not around somebody's
insane.
house.
Yeah.
Same here. One thing about signage, when we do put them up, they get stolen and they get used for target practice. So the next complaint will be, you'll be hearing shotgun shots at night, because I've got one road, we've constantly replaced them. In this 1 year, we've replaced them twice. West of Munster, they've pulled them up, they've run them over. There's so much budget that we have for signage, and it gets rather expensive. Anyway, I'm ready for the vote.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And I've got an order to sign, so that
I don't know if it would help, maybe putting them by the houses, close to the house, kind of an idea, you know.
well, they have to legally be so far from intersections and from the road, so
You
that's.
do the best you can. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you.
Item 17 is deliberate and consider possible approval of 2021 TCDRS plan agreement. I know last time we tabled this to have some discussion on the
It was insurance for, it was term life insurance for retirees is what, and we can't do term life insurance for retirees only, so.
that was the discussion, and we got the price points back to do it for everybody, and I don't know that,
Well, our active employees already have.
They already have yeah.
some life insurance, so I was looking for something for the retirees. So, unless somebody has something different, I would move to approve it as noted originally.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 19 is deliberation regarding status and future needs of new CPS court and consideration of any possible action for the same.
Look, did we miss it?
I think,
Grant?
yeah, we missed one, sorry. I had already put that, let me go back up. Deliberate and consider possible adoption of FY 2021 Texas Indigent Defense Commission grant resolution. I saw the 2021 on both line items, and I just, this is the grant. Shelley, you know what this compares to last year?
That didn't come to me, so I can't answer that.
And so this is a $22,000.
That's less than what we have in mind.
Is this just to accept it,
Yeah.
Judge? Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell. Seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Now we're doing deliberation regarding status and future needs of new CPS court and consider any possible action regarding the same. I don't have the item on here for the annex. I don't know why it slipped my mind, but regarding that entire annex complex, I did get got an email back from Komatsu. Actually had a conversation with them. Now they do not need to do the testing after I asked them to come to this court to present why they did. They said they couldn't, they had a scheduling conflict, which is probable because I think they're doing some other projects throughout the state and their Mondays are tied up. But they said as long as the capacity stays under 50 persons per room, then you're designated an office and not an assembly area.
We're good to go.
And so we should be good to go. They did send some additional information too that they should have sent earlier on in the process with a timeline as well.
At one point in time, though, we talked about possibly having a meeting room over there to do our countywide functions.
Yeah.
Which would be 212 people.
Yeah.
So based on their criteria, we couldn't put 212 people on the south side of that building beyond the firewall.
And they said that they felt that there's a good chance you'd have to shore up the base of the first floor as well if you had that many people up there.
Yeah,
Which
it just looks to me like a way not to do a study.
I talked to one of the people that was on that building committee, and they said they did all that, so.
well, he said they called everybody from the original. I'd still like to have them come up sometime and at a future court pretty soon to have that discussion, but they couldn't make it up today.
But with their current proposal and their footprint, we all talked about finishing the perimeters and putting computer cable and phone
Yeah,
lines around the perimeter. And that, one of those drawings appears to leave those partitions. Are we going to pull those partitions when we do that? In other words, the existing framework over there?
Well, if we intend to use it for voting storage and early voting, you're gonna have to.
Yeah, I was thinking we were pulling the,
See, that's what I'm thinking, but I saw one of those drawings, so
Yeah,
to me like
I
they
did
still
too.
had those framework for those petitions in place.
I saw that, and I think that was just showing the as current and not
Is it?
the,
Okay.
not the, what the plan is.
So we all still envision
Yeah.
that
You're basically clearing out the interior of those rooms and building out the,
and finishing it out.
Finishing it
and then, putting the break room and the restrooms.
Yes.
In there.
yeah.
Is what we're
Yeah,
looking
I
at.
saw that too, and at first I was confused, but I think that was just the rendering of what it looked like now, not necessarily what it was supposed to look like.
So we'll have HVAC, phones, and IT
Yeah, and
equipment
lights
on the
and-
perimeter walls with, is that going to be acoustic drop ceiling type
Yeah,
stuff?
you'll have ceiling with your lights in it too.
And that's gonna be separating it into two rooms.
Two big rooms, yeah.
East and west.
Yes. And I'm still trying to get them to come up for a future meeting just to give a little update in general. but-
Yeah.
At some point in time, we're going to, I didn't see, it may be there, but did they have any estimate on that?
They said estimate would follow within.
Actual cost
Yeah, they
estimate to
have,
do
they're
that
gonna,
footprint?
they're gonna do a cost estimate. I think it was in that email.
We've never gotten one.
No, they just sent this last week.
I did get an email with those floor plans, so.
Yeah, the email with the floor plans that I sent out, if you read, it says they expect to set a drawing update for November 6th, and the submittal will include a cost estimate. So they should have a cost estimate November 6th or so.
And we're still putting two windows in on the east side.
So,
Well, I think we talked about actually replacing all the windows, plus adding the two, right? We want
Supposedly.
modern windows in it.
yeah, I thought that was our understanding, but they hadn't presented us with anything yet. that
That's
we-
why I want them to come up here to
I
talk
was
to us
hoping we
about
could
it.
put some of these extreme maintenance windows in it.
We're gonna put real wood windows up there.
Love it when new guys come up, show up, and bring up old news.
I'm just trying to make light of everything.
Really?
Levity. You gotta have a little levity.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I had a different term for it. So as far as the CPS court is
That's-
concerned,
Ricky, do you have anything? I know we're waiting on early voting for the carpet.
Yes, we have a tentative date to put the carpet in on November 10th.
Good.
Our judge over there says he can be out of the way. And as far as we know, not any election happening at that time, so we're aiming for that target to replace the carpet.
We can be done by December the 19th.
That's the main thing. Well, the week before that.
Oh, yeah, early voting.
Yeah,
don't say it's tentative, just say we're gonna do it.
Well, I haven't set for that.
Okay.
there. More certainty, yeah, we need to get that done as soon as, in between all the elections. Anything else on 19? If not, there'll be no action. Item 20 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding tree trimming and removal from certain county properties. I think there's a quote in the packet of, this is for, Ricky, you want to come up here? We'll have you tell us a little bit about this, but this is 3 different proposals for maybe more than 3, but there's for 3 different locations. It's the library, the vacant lots we just bought, and then the Rice Avenue properties, I believe.
That's correct. The library, just because it needs to be trimmed. And I'm going to go ahead and get that done. I just wanted to wait till after today to see if y'all want to do more than that, but the trees at the library need to be trimmed. He's proposing, he gave us two different quotes on the lots across the street from the library there. One of them was to remove everything, all the trees, grind them up and take them away. You can see the price there, $11,500 would, $11,500 to remove them, and then another $1,600 to grind all the stumps and get rid of that. And then there was a second one just to remove 7 of the trees that are smaller ones and leave the larger trees. That's $7,500, and then $500 to grind the stumps for that. And then the other one was the one on Rice Avenue. And it was, the first quote there is to start at the corner of the driveway to Caden Landscape and go south to the first telephone pole, which is actually the first turn in the fence, and remove everything down to the ground. He said that, just in the conversation, he said, if I can leave the fence, I will. But he said the way it's grown up in the fence, in the wire, he said, I'm probably going to have to take everything out. But that's the price for that.
Does he mean he's going to literally clear everything, including the fence?
Yes.
Because that's not going
Yes.
to look very good if they go in there and cut some trees out and leave some pieces of fence and.
Well, and
wires.
that was his point. He said, I don't think I can take the vegetation out and leave the fence intact. So pretty much, he's already telling us ahead of time, I'm going to have to take the fence too.
How much of a section is he going to do?
It's from the corner of the driveway there, goes south, there's a telephone pole, and then the fence turns, makes 45, stop there.
Right before you get to that corner, basically.
Yes.
Where it turns
That's the
back.
one price. And then the second price to get that corner there, where it goes at a 45-degree angle. And that price is just to cut it off at the top of the fence.
Here to here.
That was the price that he gave us for that. It's,
Cut it off at the top of the fence?
That's what I was fixing to say. Why don't we just cut it off at the top of the fence at this date, spray it, let that die, and get a quote for all the way to the farm market road and get rid of them trees.
The whole thing.
And then come in, maybe one of the precincts can come in with their track loader or whatever and dig them out, if it's,
See, it goes all the way to here.
because let them trees die, then they'll, a couple of years, they'll come up pretty easily, just push them over and roll the fence up, burn it, or can we burn?
That's what I thought a while back, get permission from the city to burn that one time.
So we had this conversation a while back. I did talk with the city, and if the piles were, if we had it watched and the piles were small enough, supposedly, they would allow us to burn there.
Do we know anything about the utilities along that area that we're clearing? You have any idea, Rick?
utilities,
Any underground phone lines, anything of that nature?
I don't know that.
I mean, guys, in all honesty, I wouldn't mind bringing a track loader and dozing all that, but I don't want to jack with the utilities and damages. And I mean, if it were cleared to the point that all we got to do is go out there and doze them up and put them in piles, we could fix that solution for an indefinite period.
We took 2 track loaders over there. We have it done by lunch one day.
One thing you have to be concerned about, you get close to the EMS station, the tower that's there, those trees along that side of the road, if they fall, guy wire hits somewhere in that vicinity. That's why if we had somebody top them, take them down, leave them fence level, then do what we can at a later date.
You've got along that, from Caden's down to that corner, you've got power poles there. I don't
Are
necessarily,
the trees up in the power lines, can you
Yes.
tell there, Jason?
It's, yeah.
it doesn't look near as grown up here as it is in, I drove by it this morning. but these poles are just intermixed with those trees, and now it's a lot more grown up. You can't even see through it.
The top of them, if we don't have a track hoe, we have a track loader. And the way we push is based on leverage. So depending on, I mean, if they'll leave them at least about 4 foot high, or, I mean, we might get them in 2 years, you might not get them in 2 years, I mean, depending on, is there any big trees in there, any good hardwood trees in there, any pecans or anything in that right away?
Not, I don't think in the fence line that I've noticed. The one, the best one is one of them that was blown over during the storm, right there on that Caden's corner.
I think the majority of them are hackberries.
Yeah.
It's all
Never
bird food
fails.
trees.
Yeah.
And again, a hackberry tree, if you spray it after it's cut and let that all die, it'll,
Of course, I'm still concerned about, even if we top them 2 years down the road, if the root base is in some type of utility lines, now we've got other issues. But if he just cuts them off at ground level, mowing, that's going to be a
Same
problem from now on if we just,
No, they come back meaner.
unless you want to go out there and treat the stumps. I've done that on personal trees, and you go out and drill holes in it, pour that stuff in it, and they disintegrate to nothing.
let's see, that's,
This picture looks like the highline wires are on the other side of the road.
we can't, like I said,
Can you go to ground level?
I know they run along Rice Avenue till the turn. I think they keep going straight. And if you're going towards 2071, I don't think there's
I mean,
holes in the
we can,
way.
even if we push them out onto the road and take a rubber tire, I mean, that's what I would do if it was on Chip Seal Road out in the precinct. I'd push them toward the wire, and toward the road and take a rubber tire and push them back in to the property and then burn them. But I don't want to jack with a bunch of utilities. But it'd be feasible to go ahead and let him do the library stuff. And can you contact 811 and let them do some dig tests for that complete perimeter?
Sure.
And see if that's something, if there's utilities in there, I'm not interested now or 2 years down the road. If there's no utilities in there, we can go in there in probably a day and move that stuff.
I'd go all the way to the east to the Farm to Market Road.
All the way to
We own all the way to the Farm Market Road.
Yeah, I do that. I wouldn't stop at the
I agree.
station.
Yeah, we can do that.
What about up along the Farm to Market Road? You want to address that
Yeah, it
eastern
turns
end
right
also?
there.
I don't even know if there are trees there or not. I
There's
haven't.
trees there.
Let's stay right now. We'll stay off the state right away.
Yeah.
I don't think the state right away. But if we can save the taxpayer $11,000 by us taking a day and going over there and knocking it down, that sounds like it's more than $11,000. But anyway,
I don't think it's that for.
No, not for that.
it's 4 for this out or 4,000. That's still a
It's,
pretty good
yeah,
chunk of money.
yeah, and then if you want to,
And I don't know, the same thing almost applies for these lots over here.
that's what I was going to ask on the lots.
I mean,
Some big old trees,
There's
big old
some big
pecan
old
trees.
well, the problem over here is we can't burn these.
No, you
Right.
got
Now, out there, assuming we can burn them, I don't have a problem with taking a track loader out there and pushing them. But if it's got utilities of any kind in it, I don't want to jack with it.
There are power lines going through these big pecan trees on Main Street.
He's gonna have to go in there and top them out and get that all brought down to a low level.
But
And I can get a different quote to do something different, if we.
I think John's probably right, is if you're just gonna leave a bunch of, or some fence, and if you're just gonna cut them flush to the ground, can't mow it.
Are you out there or out here? You're out there.
I'm back out here again
Yeah.
now. Top them, 4 or 5 foot high, we'll come back and push them later, but I don't think we want to leave them ground level stumps. And
No.
I've had people grinding, some folks have some pretty serious equipment, can literally obliterate a huge area. If they just cut, this much off the top, then you got all the roots to deal with.
Got to find out if there's any utilities.
That's the number one question.
I would suggest we go ahead and deal with the library, if you guys want to. And the sky's not falling. Have them do dig test all the way from wherever you want cleared out there, from, I guess, Caden's Drive.
Caden's Drive all the way around.
All the way around to the FM
The
Road.
highway, yeah.
And I bet you, I mean, if there's, I we need to check out power lines and make sure that the trees are just not right up in, the power lines are not in the middle of the trees.
Right.
But if it's not right in the middle of them, we take a rubber tire and a track loader.
I got a feeling you're gonna have fiber, and I think you're gonna have gas.
And you may, I mean, if he is, then we need to go back and let this guy do whatever you guys want to do, top it and grind them or whatever, but to cut them off at ground level and not grind them is, would be a mistake, in my opinion.
And what about these vacant lots?
I don't have a solution other than, I mean, y'all want to, is there any reason to thin out the small trees so the big ones can grow more, so it's just more difficult to push? If we're planning on it being a parking lot,
I would take them completely down, I'd do it as quick as possible, and don't give the public time to come out. And make it a parking lot as soon as you can, because that way it shows it's a good purchase for the county.
I'll defer.
Because you can
Without
talk about
comment.
it, you can talk about the end result, trees gotta come down, and you gotta make it a parking lot, so.
Well, there's not a whole lot you're gonna do with it like it is unless you take the trees out.
I mean, there's no use for it
No.
with the trees in place.
Trees went away, so,
But, and again, if it wasn't for,
we didn't buy it for a tree.
Yeah.
all I know do that's let somebody come in and remove them, and, I mean, and somebody get the stumps on those whenever they do
The actual dirt work.
do the dirt work.
So there's a price there that, and then there's a price for grinding stumps on top of that. Correct.
You think we could dig those stumps out?
If they're pecan trees, you got a real deep tap root. I don't know. You can, backhoe on some instances works pretty good if you can cut around the outside. These are pretty big trees. An excavator probably would do better.
I have an excavator,
But is it worth $1,600 to?
half does one or the other.
But to build the parking lot, you need to get the stumps out.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to dig that up.
That's true.
Grinding it doesn't make any
That's
difference.
true, too.
You're gonna have to dig down so many feet, compact everything, and get it built back up, so. That means you gotta dig it all up.
Another issue I see with one tree is that it's between the sidewalk and the curb. So
Yeah.
it's right out by the curb. So to dig that stump up, you'd have to be real careful not to damage the curb and part of the street. I don't,
It'll be
That's
entry
my
for the
concern.
parking lot.
Not responsible for accidents.
All right, so he's gonna do the library, he's gonna dig test out here, and he's going to remove the trees
Move
off
the trees off the vacant lots, so.
You're gonna remove and grind, is that what?
I would just say remove if we're gonna have to
We can try to dig them up.
dig them up either way if you're gonna utilize that.
well,
Don't
and
hurt
there's
you, have to, well, it depends on how quick you
a
guys. want to
chain link
park.
fence on it too that needs to go away, but I mean, that's,
It's not in the quote.
no, that's not for him, but I'm just saying if we have a skid loader or something out there, we can pull that fence up and haul it off too. Or it could be a part of the scope of the work
How
of the
many trees are
contractor
there?
that's doing the sidewalk. I'm sorry.
19.
How many trees are in that lot?
19. what it
19
says.
trees.
There's 19 trees on these lots?
The thinning doesn't make any sense.
It'll surprise you.
Long-term to thin them doesn't make any sense.
Either let it sit or take them out. I mean, that's the,
And why do we buy it if you're
and
gonna
why
let
do we
sit?
buy it if we're gonna let it sit, so.
If you want, get it done now, I'll take the blame for it. I got the blame for the library when we took them other trees out, so.
Well, are you making the motion?
I'll make the motion, go ahead and remove the trees on the lot, the 2 lots. And then we decide on trimming
And we're gonna trim at the library, I think.
the
that's-
library, but Rice Avenue, we're still
We're
discussing.
gonna wait and, yeah.
Shelley's got a question.
Where are we paying for this one?
It's a good question.
County funds,
Thank you.
I can do the library out of my budget.
Yeah, but the other one, you don't
The
have
other
nothing contract services or anything to do right now. We'd have to do a budget amendment for next court and for contract services, I'm assuming on the library, or on, not on the library, but on the lots.
oh, I thought you were wondering how you were gonna reimburse precinct 4 if I dug the tree stumps up.
Same way they're gonna do us if we end up.
I'm assuming contract services is the correct line?
Well,
Where would you rather it come from?
it just wasn't discussed during budget, so.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. So what would you like us to do? Well, I'm trying to be easy to get along with.
I wish you'd rephrase.
Good one.
I wish you'd rephrase you start asking her what she'd like. She'd want us out there jumping ropes somewhere.
Well, that's all right. I never said I'd do it. I just want to see what she wants.
We also didn't have the lots
And we didn't have the lots in, so it's.
during the
One of
budget
those things.
season. Well, did you make that motion?
I made that motion.
Second,
We have a motion by Commissioner John Clement, second by Commissioner Leon Clement.
let's have a little more discussion.
Sure.
Now, he has a question.
I have a
Yes, sir.
question. Is that not grinding the stumps?
Not grinding the
Trees out.
stumps, I don't.
And we'll see if we can get them out. If we can't get them out, then we'll have to go back to Plan B.
So if you want to go ahead and have him trim the library, we'll have to do a budget amendment to move money in to have enough to do the other one for next court, to make Shelley happy.
He's probably gonna want to, I don't know, that's a big job. He may
It may take him a little time to
take him a
coordinate
little
that.
time to do that bigger job, so I'll talk to him about it.
But the sooner you get them out of there, the sooner we can
Mhm.
try to get the stumps out.
Is the price in the packet?
Yes. Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 21 is deliberate and consider possible approval of various grant funds. A is the FEMA 2015 flood. We have anything new on FEMA? Thank you, Rick.
No, they keep sending documents.
No money, though.
No money.
Money.
What about, I don't think we have anything new on the FEMA 2020 COVID-19 funds, unless Shelley's got anything.
They sent out, they extended,
Oh, until February or something.
They extended something, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't, I'm not sure I'm clear on what they sent.
No, they've extended it to,
The emergency work deadline is extended until further notice. And the project application,
they extended it into early next year, it looks
Yeah.
like, yeah. Just because we're continuing to deal with the issue, I think, but. Anything else? None?
we do have to submit, if we're planning on asking for more than our 20%, we have to submit a plan. And in my conference last week, there's a form.
Mhm.
So I'll get that filled out.
And we do, and that's item C, which is the CARES Act funding. We do have, we're going to submit more than whatever our 1.2 million. I think we've got plenty of things to submit to try to get more than that back. And there'll be a lot of counties turning back money, I think, so we should hopefully be able to get more.
But the FEMA part is should be is that the category, emergency and protective measures?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get that, and then the CARES Act should be the 20%,
Yeah.
and then the plan.
Item D is public safety COVID grants. I think we've already received those, and
No, that's, I submitted the, 93,000. $93,636.40 for paper-ready inmates through 9/30. I did a budget adjustment to, we had originally asked to pay for overtime for the jailers with this grant, but I asked to have a budget adjustment to move all the money to paper-ready inmates. So that's $122,000 for this grant. So, I'm going to say probably, maybe October, we'll use up the rest of that money.
Yeah.
So then the other paper-ready inmates will move to the CARES funding, and that will also go towards, that funding.
mm-hmm. Anything else? So what about CTIF road grants?
I completed County Road 115. It's submitted to Shelley to be submitted. So 115's done.
Yes, and I just haven't, submitted them to the state yet.
How big of a deal is it to change roads, if I want to change roads?
Well, I just have to fill out that, spreadsheet and send it in and let them know that you're changing a road.
Needs to be oil field. Once you gotta get approved before you can start work or claim work on that? If you're changing a road?
It's got to be damage due to oil traffic, right?
Or heavy truck traffic?
Heavy truck, yeah, heavy truck.
Yeah. Anything else?
Does the heavy truck traffic have to be specified what it's from?
I don't think
Can it be from concrete truck, building?
They're not that, I don't think they're that persnickety about it at all.
I'll find out and let you know.
We have 5 years to complete all this, right?
Yes.
Then the next item is elections grants. I think we've already spent through all of those. Have we? Or already, we've received them all.
Right, and we received the new one.
And I think I have enough to cover all the money that we got for that new center and tech grant, $10,830. And the only one you don't have on here is the EMS Medicaid money,
Oh, yeah,
CARES.
yeah.
And about 5,000 to prove, we got the money, we just have to prove how we spend it.
Expenditures, yeah,
Yeah, so I'm about 5,000, 5,200.
still left on that.
Yeah, and then the library just was awarded their CARES grant of about 9,500, so.
That should pay for some of the sneeze guard stuff and all that, maybe.
And her, yes, and her gloves and hand sanitizer.
Yeah. Anything else on grants? If not, item 22 is executive session in compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act 551 of the Government Code. And this is a little bit different today because we do have deliberation of business and financial issues relating to contracts being negotiated. And because we have that, we have to take a vote to go into executive session.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hollowell. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. And we will take a quick recess and be in executive. Okay, it is 12:13. We are back in regular session. Item number 23 is deliberate consider possible ratification of professional services agreement with Mission Critical Partners.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 24 is deliberate consider possible action on public health emergency declaration for COVID-19. Ray, you want to give us an update since you stayed around for this long?
You feel a little bit better. Active cases as of Friday was 129. This is all on Facebook for a total caseload of 702. It's 9 fatalities. We had 8 in the hospital, in hospitals on Friday. That number's down, I think, today. At least I know of a couple, few.
Down by what, Ray?
I think it's down. It's very tentative because I haven't been to the office yet. So I did get a call that we had fewer out here at least. So I think they had 3 in TMC today, 2 in ICU and 1 on the floor. Last week we did have a drive-up testing site through the state, the Texas National Guard, Division of Emergency Management, and significant help from the Cooke County Fair Association, using their barn as a site, and we tested 309 total. We have results from Tuesday and Wednesday. We don't have the results from Thursday yet. Tuesday and Wednesday, we ran about a 10% positive rate. Folks at that drive-up opportunity, there was no need to be symptomatic or sick or have a doctor's order. It was just wide open testing. So there were folks there that wanted to go see their loved one in a nursing home or needed it for travel. So a real wide variety of people at that site.
And it had some out-of-county folks as well.
Right. Some of those positive cases were out-of-county folks. And it was open to people from Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, there was no IDs being checked. So,
but the ones being recorded on our pandemic page are only in county. So even if they tested positive at the testing site and they're from Oklahoma, they don't count in our numbers. So
yes,
just because these are questions we continue to get.
Yeah.
Did I read somewhere in Cooke County we have 70 beds available? I'm assuming that's between Munster and Gainesville?
COVID beds, I think that's probably high.
No, it's my understanding we have 70 beds between those 2 hospitals?
I'd have to look on the report they send to the state every day. That's the one I've
See, I
forwarded.
think what you sent us, if I read it right, we have 70 beds, and what I'm hearing out of that 70 beds, we have 7 occupied.
With COVID patients?
Yes.
That's probably a little bit lower than that today, but that.
Yeah, but you said my miss. Okay.
Right.
I mean, because the numbers we see that the media's putting out there, they're always, we've tested all these people, and we have all these issues. How many do we really have in the hospital? You know, that kind
Right.
of junk.
That's
It's bad mojo. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but, you know, if I listened to my national media, I'd be scared to death all the time.
Yep.
The question that, when we say the hospital's full, now, how many beds are strictly for COVID patients in the hospital? And then how many beds is the hospital capacity? So Gainesville Hospital is what, 6 or 7 rooms for COVID patients that are designated? What is the number?
I would defer to them. I don't know that number. I know they have a very fluid number. They have the capacity for a lot more than that. How many they actually dedicate specific rooms or ICU beds to at any given time is
Situation would drive
contingent
that,
on
would be
what
my
they
guess.
got, what they've got. I mean, we have plans to increase, significantly, depending on the caseload and what we see, working with both hospitals. So there are contingency plans worked out already between them specifically to manage as best they can. If we lose the ability to throughput south, that's going to be another big impact on our operations up here.
So these tests, so the ones you did was a mouth swab. How do I ask the question? So the reason for the question is they came up, first the test was they ran the swab halfway up to the top of your head.
Yes, sir.
Or tried to poke it out of the top. Then they came up with one where they didn't ram the swab as far up in your nose. Now, I've had someone that had an appointment at a hospital down south, and they had to go back to get the deep swab because they wouldn't take any of the other tests. So we do all these tests. Is there no standardization on what different do the hospitals not all, and I don't mean the ones in Cooke County, if you're going south for a medical procedure or something, like that test, you had the mouth swab, is that not good enough to get out of Cooke County, or is that not, does that make sense?
Yes, sir. I think I understand what you're saying, and as far as I know, there is no, it's very hospital-specific on what they'll accept if you're discussing about going in for a procedure or any other operation type of that hospital may require
A specific test.
type of test. And the testing world has become very convoluted now with, the PCR is the top active virus, most accurate test out there. But there are oral swab PCRs, there's way back deep nasopharyngeal PCR testing, there are, I believe, saliva I've heard now, there's mid-nasal, so there's many different ways to collect that sample. But it still goes back to the same testing mechanism to get a result.
So which one do you have to do, Ray, to get the antibody, actually get the antibody test?
So the PCR is the most accurate, and this is just simply what I hear. This is not scientific. What I understand in checking with our local health authority, the PCR is somewhere in the mid to upper 90s as far as accuracy, and that's the active virus. The antigen test, which tests for the antigen or antibody, well, antigen in your system, that means you have to have had it probably a couple of days at least for most people, some people even longer, for that to result. That one is purported to be somewhere in the high 80s to low 90s. The antibody test is the one that tests the IgG, IgM antibodies in your system. And again, that's a post, you may still be somewhat symptomatic, but generally you're on your way out of it at that point. And that one, they say those small cartridge 15-minute antibody tests are 50 to 60-ish. Again, all of those should be used with a provider's consultation. So based on symptoms and other issues and the testing, then they will determine what they feel is best.
And the further away you were, if you had the disease, your antibodies go down, don't they?
Yes, sir.
So if you had it 4 months ago, you may not show that you ever had it.
They haven't figured that out,
They haven't
what
figured
that
that out.
timeline is.
Yeah.
It seems to be a few months that you'll continue to show the antibodies, but at what point do those disappear is going to be very situational based on the person. Is there any immunity and how long does that last? Those are all questions still being answered.
So when we have a increase or a spike in positives, are we able to trace those back to where we think they caught it?
In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. It just depends. I mean, really on the person and some.
Well, I read in the paper that Oktoberfest caused the spike. Were you able to trace it back to?
Not specifically, no.
Well.
And I didn't say that. I said, if I said anything, I said large events like these lead to an increase, and we do have I would suggest a disproportionate higher number in the northwest part of the county right now than other areas. And we have had people tell us specifically where they got it at larger functions that came that way. I haven't.
I'm just curious, because I know it was the tractor pull, Oktoberfest, and a wedding, but the wedding was held in Salina.
Football games.
And ball games.
Basketball
That's
games.
what I'm wondering, are you able to trace it back to individual groups?
In some cases. To large events, not as much. There are a couple of large events we know because the person and several people that were at the same event at the same time all developed at the same time. So that we can do that to some extent.
When it comes to sanitizing, you and I, do you ever have any more discussions about that? Those sanitizing machines?
Yes. And I think Pam have you talked with Ricky about?
I hadn't got to talk to him. I was so busy Friday. He kept trying to come in there, but I was had
We-
voters.
We need to come up, I didn't realize we had these, but we have sanitizing machines where we can fog these rooms, and I would suggest that your office, the tag office, all the heavily traveled offices, and the whole building actually, ought to be fogged every, I don't know, how often do you think they ought to be fogged? I mean, I don't know.
I would, you know, I
Dr.
would,
Lewis
I
tell
would
us?
suggest we probably do it at least at the end of the duty day.
At the end of what, I'm sorry?
At the end of the
Duty
day.
day.
End of the duty.
Duty day.
Okay, gotcha, duty day.
Well, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, you just.
End of the day.
Walk through, sanitize all those areas, and they'll be clean and fresh for the first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
And then we have the other folks going around doing spot wiping and
Yeah.
And
And all
we've
those-
got that going on now.
Do
I
we
think
have
we,
it?
the surface
They
cleaning.
hit the high contact areas.
We have these machines, we haven't been using them, like I had one of my road hands came
Yes, sir.
down with it, and they sat there and scrubbed the barn down all day long, and they could have sanitized everything.
Is that equipment such that we can teach the part-timers,
Probably, yes, sir.
you know, and that frees up our maintenance group? You still having difficulty getting part-timers?
Only problem you got using part-timers if you're doing after hours, you don't want them going in certain offices.
Yeah.
Well, but if you've got 3 or 4 machines, you put one supervisor here, those part-timers, they got to get in, get out in a certain amount of time with those things. It wouldn't take much to supervise.
I don't know,
What
you
will
do a
that do on-
part-timer
on
coming in
paper
here, building
products?
afterward.
It's in a room, you
I'm
fall in
here.
the room.
I think they, it's a
Do what?
I'm here till 8.
Fine air.
electrically charged fine air moisture mist, so you would want to, everybody, you wouldn't want action for, 5 or 10 minutes. It would need to dry and settle, and, I mean, it doesn't create a huge cloud in the room, they just go along and mist everything.
But after hours, they could do it and walk out, right?
If they had access, yes, sir.
And what John's question is, how about paper products laying out? Does it,
It wouldn't
do you
hurt.
need to take any protections,
It doesn't take
precautions to?
Yeah, if you're not, I mean, I don't, from what I've observed, if you, hold it over it, sure, but otherwise, it's pretty light, very light mist.
But you're fogging the air.
No, sir.
No?
No, it's very, it's not a big room fogging machine, it's a
No.
small thing with a little dispenser.
You walk around with it, and it spews it out.
Just like I've seen commercials, the airlines.
Yeah, they're
doing their
Same thing.
seats.
There's 3 of them sitting down in the basement down there.
Yeah, EMS has one, and then
EMS
there's,
has one.
those were originally going to be assigned to the courts that we thought may be busier at this time than what they ended up being.
Can we take COVID money and buy 3 or 4 more of them?
We need to utilize what we have.
Well, I understand, but I mean, assuming that we all of a sudden to use them, I mean, that's no worse than
And-
using COVID money to buy them and leave them.
No,
hanging.
no.
I think even in a courtroom, those would be probably an end-of-day
It's a, yeah.
situation,
yeah.
and then the person we'd have the people there that would hand do it between each person, because
I mean, I'm like Leon, I put a guy in that motor grader we discussed earlier. You know, it'd have been nice, depending on what they cost,
Yeah, just spray the
had
room.
one at the, each.
Have one
Yeah,
in each floor.
we sanitized his 2 pieces of equipment that he had been isolated in for 2 days, and they got in there with handy wipes and wiped it all down and bleached it, and it smelled so bad from bleach for 3 days that,
And no way you could get in the crevices, the upholstery and
no,
all
you
that
just
stuff.
can't, no. And one of those machines would really be nice. I mean, well, we have them, so. But really, as well-traveled as your office is, and
And the.
Oh, yeah,
across
all
the
our
street.
voting,
Yeah,
they need to go over and hit that.
all of them.
yeah.
Anyway,
That's why I shut mine down.
well, your office too, it needs to be sanitized. I mean, that,
Just to make sure, just keep everybody healthy.
yeah, I understand.
that, I think, would be a good idea for anybody to limit the ability or the opportunities for transmission. Any way you can do that, but
Yeah.
we
First
do,
thing right here, our maintenance department, though, is we don't have time. So then it needs to go down to part-time. And then again, can we teach them? Are they available?
Well, I think the scheduling is the most critical thing on part-time, because I know we're running high on hours on some, and it's hard to get them in earlier than 7:45 or so.
But if they do them in the afternoon.
Then, yeah, that may
end of
be,
the day,
yeah. yeah.
And you're still having difficulty getting part-time help.
Yeah.
I think
Do
we
need to
can,
add to that number?
So who's gonna do this? Because we talked about it, and a week from now, we still won't be using it.
No, it's, and
We'll sit
Pam's
down
supposed
with
to,
Rick.
yeah, I've already talked to Rick, and he's supposed to talk with Pam. I know Pam's running around, got plenty on her plate to make that happen.
Talk to him today.
And I think
we're gonna
I've
do.
already got those two. The main two offices that we deal with that is your office and across the street at Brandy's, and start working down from there, because,
Yeah, the whole building, because
Yeah.
you got COVID, flu, pneumonia, I mean.
But if we're gonna do it after hours, why do they even need to bother the department head? She's busy. Tell him to get in there this afternoon, or some
well,
part-time
some
people ain't
offices
gonna do
want
it.
it done, it makes more sense to do it at certain times, and some, it's the same thing with any other maintenance.
Yeah, but I mean,
schedule maintenance.
afternoon, after hours, good for you?
But doing voting is very sensitive on, because you got voting till 6. Well, if you want to scan, if you're going to do the room, you got to do it after, so could the election workers maybe just do it as they're leaving? Takes
So-
10 minutes and be done, or do you do it?
But we're gonna figure out a
Yeah, I
plan
mean,
to
so
get it
there's some
done. This is gonna be a
logistical-
learning experience, you got to figure out what works best for everybody.
You're gonna have one person at least going with it, whoever is gonna do this, teach him, make sure it's being
Yeah.
done correctly.
So there's some logistical parts of it that have to play out, but that is in the works.
We do have 4 that will be, they're getting their physical and drug screening this week, so they should be on board Wednesday. 4 more. So we're down to about the bare minimum right now, but
Come and go, and
that'll help.
He's having some difficulties, recently.
I think we got a pretty good pool of 4 coming on, so that hopefully will
Yeah.
get us going back full speed again. But we use, in the cases, we use them as an indicator. As you said, we don't overreact to it. We watch it and try to figure out if there's a particular area. In general, are we increasing, are we decreasing? It's an indicator. But yes, hospitalizations and capacity is the biggest deal. Can we keep moving them through? Do we still have room? That's our.
And obviously, when you're giving more tests, you're gonna have more positives, and you look at all these numbers. Now, if I look at the Channel 4 News tonight, Cooke County's got 700 cases, or they have had historically.
Right.
But we really have, how many we have active now?
Well, and I would, and not to get too far off into the weeds, but, just even if we don't test them or if we do test them, then we find out about it, that doesn't mean they weren't already there anyway.
Yeah, I agree. But people are making decisions based on this stuff, and.
Right.
And they're based on, it needs to pretty much be centered around hospitalization. Because we know that one's too many, but there's a minuscule number that actually ends up fatality as a result of this.
So we're not going to stop it.
No, that's right.
So we just have to be able to
Gotta work
manage
our way
it. As
through
long
it.
as we can manage it, that's the key.
And I know Ray's in constant contact with both hospitals and most of the other clinics around as far as volume, and we're seeing a spike in the last couple of weeks. And I think a lot of it's COVID fatigue and larger events. It's a lot of it comes back to personal accountability. If you're sick, stay home, wash your hands, maintain distancing, and wear a mask. There's a lot of practical advice that can go a long ways.
Yeah. But I'd a whole lot rather people make individual choices and mask themselves if they feel the need than somebody start throwing out mandates and say
Yeah.
they have to.
Mandates, I think people bow up at them. Sanitation's the best. And like I said, we need to get to spraying the building down.
Anything else? All right, so there'll be no action on item number 24. Thank you, Ray. Get some rest. Item 25 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding security devices and security audits. I don't think we have anything on that. Item 26 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding personnel matters. I don't believe we have anything. 27 is future agenda.
The sick leave with this COVID stuff, I'd like to.
We need to, I'll get with Elizabeth.
Revisit that, put that on the next meeting.
The answer was we've had somebody used it twice, but she wasn't sure they used all of it out of the time.
That is what I was wondering.
We need to come up with, we put a pretty standard, so many day limit on it, and I don't know.
We need to revisit that and see if it's
Yeah.
still working or not working.
I wonder what other counties are doing.
I don't know, that's a good question. Any other future agenda items? If not, 28 is to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs, Seconded by Commissioner Hollowell, since he's standing up. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.